Well, hi, and welcome back to My Coaching Story. This week's episode, we travel to Brisbane, Australia. Brad Flynn, how are you, buddy?
G'day, Brad. Good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, coaching for more than a decade, lots of clients, and lots of them have, I'll get to what they say about you in a little bit. But one of the more interesting things is after a decade, you're still enjoying it? You're still loving it? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. Still love it, mate. It's been one hell of a journey, to say the least. And anyone who's been a coach for this long will resonate with that. From some of the lowest lows I've had in my life to some of the highest highs. So yeah, still really look forward to it. And yeah, just really appreciate it even more these days to be able to get that quicker change in people, just that you can only get through experience by knowing the right question to ask at the right time and those sorts of things. So yeah, still loving it, mate, for sure.
You know, when you talk about the lows and highs of it, sometimes, you know, you have to take a client through some of the hardest parts of their life. You know, business is tough, relationship is tough, but coaching a client through all those human things definitely helps the relationship, but it also brings about so much more growth for us as coaches, and not just the client, for us as coaches. Talk about your growth as a coach, about you and how you've had to grow to become an even better coach than you were when you started.
Yeah, 100%. Well, there's plenty of room in becoming a better coach. And, you know, these days I kind of jokingly say that I get to have tough conversations with my best friends and they pay me for it. So, which is a lot what it's like, because most of my clients are some of my closest friends. And it is just, I sometimes think, wow, you guys, you know, you pay me to do this stuff, and it's just such a win-win relationship. So it took a long time to get to that, you know, at my own individual challenges with how I see myself and the world and the journey and the rest of it. So yeah, I feel very honored, grateful, privileged whenever I do have a coaching conversation. It's a very sacred space, you know, to sit down and do this coaching thing properly is, yeah, a very sacred space. So to be able to step into that space with another human is to be highly respected and regarded. And, you know, I don't coach after lunch anymore because my headspace just isn't right for me. I'm very much a morning person. So all my sessions are in the morning because I know I'm sharpest in the morning and I know my clients are going to get the best. So yeah, it's very rewarding.
So let's go back then. Let's take a walk back pre-coaching. What led you to coaching? What was your career and background prior to it?
Yeah, I have a running joke whenever I do my events in that is I open up with, say, I used to be an engineer, but I'm better now. So anyone who knows an engineer knows what I'm talking about.
The recovering engineer joke, yes.
That's it. But, you know, being an engineer helped me with numbers in business, which is critical. You know, if you don't know your numbers, then don't be in business. So, and I actually was just thinking about it. I saw you present in Sydney at Sales Congress at around 2002. I'd realised this engineering thing wasn't for me, and I had an opportunity to go into a sales job, which, you know, I jokingly say I had the worst sales record in ActionCOACH history, I reckon. I sucked at it. I was hopeless. So that was where I saw you on stage the first time. You did the 5 ways and just blew my mind away. And it still took me a while to actually come on board as a coach, but I still remember that day as clear as a bell. And a good mate of mine, Jamie Cunningham, actually, he joined up with you. Him and I moved in together, and we lived together for a number of years. And I think I bought Instant Cash Flow and Billionaire Training that day. And I can see Billionaire in Training in the background. Still one of my best books to give to clients on mindset. And yeah, there it is. I reread it probably once a year. It's full of highlights. It's got gold in it. So yeah. So that's how I started, was seeing you. And then I got my own business, and we actually had a conversation as I went through my own business. I'd won a opportunity to have a chat with you, and there was all these pointers going along the way. I did entrepreneurs up at the Gold Coast at Royal Pines in about 2005. So there was always this pointing me towards getting to where I am today. Sometimes I'm a bit slow though. It took me a while to work it out. So yeah, but yeah, here now.
You know, it's amazing how for so many of us, our career progresses towards coaching without us really even noticing it, sort of thing.
Yeah, you kind of get these subtle taps, don't you? You know, it's steering you in that direction. Things just seem to flow a lot easier when you're on the right track. It's that ability to pick up when you're off track and to correct and go, well, what do I need to do here? and get back into that flow, into that slipstream almost, to sort of keep you going on the right direction. Mind you, there was a lot of rough times on this journey. I'm not saying the number of conversations I had with coaches starting and saying, hey, hang in there, it's worth it. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, I think the level of growth needed in those early days is dependent upon the past background and that sort of stuff you've had. But I look at the results you get with your clients now and some of the things your clients have talked about. And now you do offer both one-to-one, but you also do a bunch of educational stuff as well. Tell us why you do the two different sides to that.
I think the educational stuff, again, it's just a fulfillment thing for me. I like getting up in front of a room full of people and sort of delivering seminars. The one-to-one is good, but like I said, for me to be optimal at it, I only have a certain amount of bandwidth that I feel I can deliver for it. So it just comes down to leverage. How do I give the best of what I have available with the time I can deliver it in? So yeah, I kind of like to mix it up, and that's just my formula. Everyone's different. But in terms of the most fulfillment that I get, that's what works for me.
Yeah, and it allows you to reach more people too, which is great. Now, business leadership is part of being a coach, but you took it one step further to chamber leadership and taking a role, because I've always said it, and I think you're a great example of this, how a business coach is not just a coach, they're a leader of business in the community. Tell us a bit more about how you took it that next step.
Yeah, and I think if you are congruent as a coach with our principles, leadership should come pretty easy, because a lot of the stuff that leadership involves is the principles that we work hard on. And my journey into chamber and beyond sort of came, it was 2015, we were down the Gold Coast, we had one of our Business Excellence Awards. And you challenged us around, what are you doing in your community other than, looking after yourself with your own business? I come from a small country town of, 3,500 people. And I could see that where I live in Redcliffe and Brisbane reminded me a lot of that hometown. And there was an opportunity to build a strong community with the basis that strong communities are built through strong business. So that's where my journey kind of started. And I got involved and I thought, how am I going to make a difference? How am I going to know if I make a difference? And made a ton of mistakes in the early days. And essentially, when someone first approached me about chamber, I said, look, happy to get involved, but if we're going to do this, we're going to run it like a business. And I looked at the chamber and the community and I thought, well, can we do 6 steps on a community? And, vision, your number one thing, the rules of the game, culture, all those things apply. So that's what I did. And we went big on a vision that's starting to come true. And, we've got the Olympics coming up in 2032, which will slot nicely into this bigger vision that we had all along. That's kind of how I got to where I am. And I spend more time, not so much these days, I've pulled back out of chamber a bit, but I would spend way more time on chamber and community stuff than I was doing on my own business, sometimes to my own detriment. But again, I was enjoying it. And it's kind of got me to where I am now.
Yeah. So a lot of your clients talk about results, and there seems to be a lot of them where their team building results is one aspect, and there's a bunch where they're sort of the financial, the sales, marketing number. Is one of those your favorite area? What would be your favorite area to coach on? Anyone?
I don't know if I could split it. Numbers is natural for me because that engineering left brain, but also team transformation is hugely fulfilling. To see and hear the stories back from the business owners of actions team members have taken because, we did a workshop on communication and they start to see their blind spots and adjust accordingly. I mean, that's pretty fizz up sort of stuff as well. So the number stuff these days is pretty easy. I don't know, it's just second nature to me, but humans are variable. So that constant challenge of trying to work with someone, get into their world, into their head and find out what they need is probably more challenging than the numbers these days. And that's pretty cool.
So a lot of the owners talk about their own personal growth and how you've helped them grow as people. And several of them even said things like, Brad's helped me become a business person. Explain, what do you think that means? Why do they say that?
I think that, when you start your own business, and a lot of these guys, they think they are their own business. So it's that mindset of you are not your business. You are you as a person, but we need to extricate you out of your business. Your business is this machine, it's a vehicle to give you the lifestyle that you choose. So, and that's hard because I often use the metaphor, your business is like a baby. You were there when it was born, you changed its nappies and its temper tantrums and the whole thing. And eventually it gets to a certain point where you got to, step away, which fundamentally it's a human mindset trait thing. It's like parents and kids leaving home, it's a pretty stressful thing for people. I mean, you've been through this recently. So it's quite a challenge for a business. And sometimes people love their businesses as much, if not more than some of their kids sometimes, I think. So it's, but I think, that distinction between not being defined by your business is key. Your business is a reflection of you, but it doesn't define you. Is a key element, I think.
Yeah. So another thing that a lot of your clients mention is about the community that you've built, and you bring them together. Tell us more about why you bring them together and how that works.
That's probably the thing that excites me the most, is when you get a room full of, I call them my business Olympians, because they play like an Olympian. They train hard, they focus on it, they're obsessed with it. It's all about their business and they love it. And so when you get a room full of people like that all together, it's extremely powerful. And this is something I'm working on in my community next, is how do I get people who are business Olympians who aren't my clients into a room together for the good of the community, and let them bounce off each other, because it's like they're talking to themselves a lot of the time. We often think we live in these silos, that nobody knows what's going on in my world, in particular in business, and other business owners, they've got it all under control and they're in charge and all the rest. The fact is, no one has anything like that. So to get them in a room and know that what they're going through is not unique, but also for them to learn from the other people. Like in planning days, I just facilitate conversations and stand back and let them help each other. And that then means that, particularly because they've got better stories in that, well, this is what we did and this is what happened and so forth. The biggest lessons people get out of planning days usually, and I want it that way, is to come from everybody else. And that's a big thing as coaches. I think we need to do is get our ego out of the way a lot of the time. Is we need to facilitate, not be the one with the answers. We've got to be the ones with the questions. So in those spaces, that's what I'm trying to do, is get them, because I know what's going on in this person's world and this person's world, and you guys need to talk and facilitate that and then get out of the way.
So speaking of community, you've been part of the Action Coach community for a long time now. What's the reason that you think Action Coach as a community works? What is it about this group?
It's a camaraderie. I remember when I was really struggling, I could pick up the phone. If I saw a coach, whether it was at a top 100 CD that we used to have, or something that I can't even remember how we used to communicate back then.
Do you remember? Tapes and CDs.
Tapes and CDs. Yeah, that's how long I've been around for as well. And to know that I could pick them up and they genuinely wanted to help me, that was so important. And even now, all new coaches that I work with, or they give me a call, I'll take their call and get back to them, and I'll say, whatever you need, let me know. Whether it's a tough chat, a conversation, a this or a that, or whatever, that's part of the culture that is, I think, very uniquely Action Coach, that has made the difference for my journey a lot of the time as well. Those dark days when you're just thinking, what am I doing?
It's such an emotional roller coaster coaching business owners, because you get off the phone with one who's doing amazing, and then you get on the phone with the next one who's down in the dumps, and you got to, and that roller coaster, and then you're riding the own roller coaster of your own life and your own business and stuff. It's a challenge, but we grow as people within that whole process. But one last question then. If you were sort of sitting back and you were like, go back to the days when you had your own business and talk about coaching and that sort of stuff, how do you convince someone that they should have a coach? What is it about coaching that, because I personally think every business owner should have a coach, and that's my thing. What's your thinking on it? Yeah,
look, and this has been a big realization for me, because sometimes I asked myself the other day, why do people buy from me? Why? What is it that they buy? And I asked one of my clients, I asked a couple of them, and there was something that I'd never thought of that made me realize it, is when you have your own business, you let yourself off the hook all the time. So The first thing is accountability. So having someone who's going to keep you accountable. As an employer, we keep our team accountable, but there's nobody who keeps a business owner accountable. So that's the first important point, is external accountability, because it's too easy. We're really good at putting other people on the hook, but we suck at keeping ourselves on the hook. So having someone outside puts you on that hook. The second biggest thing that these guys say to me when I was asking them was that I ask the questions no one's going to ask them. So it doesn't matter when they're, some of these conversations over the years that I've had, and this is the thing that I tell my clients, is if you've got to have a tough conversation with someone, you've got to be authentic and clean about it. If you're taking any emotion or any residue of that sort of stuff in, it'll blow up in your face. But if you go in, have permission, and genuinely, authentically care and have the other person's best interest in mind, those tough conversations are life changers. And that's part of what we need to do as coaches. And that's a big part, is we got to say the stuff to this person that a lot of other people may know, but they're not saying. So I think those two things, keeping them accountable and having those tough conversations, and the right type of people, and not even most people want to know where their blind spots are. They can't see them. And I can't see my blind spots. And I've got people around me, and I expect them to call me on my bullshit fast, because I can't see it. If I could see it, being as proactive as we are as our group, we'll take action on it. So I think I'd distill it down to those 2 points, is about, accountability and having those tough conversations and questions.
Brilliant. Brad Flynn, thanks for the results you're getting with all of those business owners out there and all of their stuff, and the businesses that are growing because of you. Congrats on all of those. And thanks for giving us your time here on My Coaching Story.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, mate.